Hello and welcome. I'm Tania Schaefer from Schaefer Interview. I'm the conveyancer registration of properties. Today we have with us Kobie Potgieter from the Remax Independent Port Elizabeth branch. Kobie is an international award winner and she has some questions for me today.
Yes, Tania. Just want to ask you a few questions relating to property. Firstly, what do you think is the role of a conveyancer in the registration process of properties?
When you buy a property, an attorney that is a conveyancer must register it in the deeds office. Basically what we do, and that's in a nutshell, I wish it was as simple because then I would register much quicker, but we need to get the agreement of sale from an estate agent, prepare transfer documents for the deeds office, get various clearances from the municipality, from the receiver of revenue, obtain the title deed from the seller's bank, prepare new title deed for the buyer in their name, and then also arrange the finances, whether it's a cash transaction or mortgage bond for the buyer to be registered. That we actually synchronize that whole process, getting it to the deeds office and then register. What makes our life difficult is the fact that a lot of the process is not in our hands. We are dependent on the municipality, receiver of revenue and the deeds office. They can all cause delays, and you have actually more than one client. You have a buyer, a seller, normally two estate agents to keep happy, a buyer's bank and a seller's bank. So at the end of the day, it's quite a difficult task and to satisfy all the parties involved.
Now, I know it's very difficult to keep everybody happy, and I don't think that people always realize what goes on behind the scenes.
Definitely.
Yeah, but I think we need to educate the clients regarding that.
Thanks.
Another question for you: what causes delays in the registration process?
I will say the main delay is the non-cooperation of the parties. A deed of sales or agreements that's not properly completed, and it doesn't really reflect the agreement between the parties. When the title deed is mislaid, then normally there is a delay because you have to get a certified copy from the deeds office. A lot of buyers pretend that they do have the cost to pay or they have the deposit, and you have delays getting that funds in. You sometimes have a buyer or seller that's not registered for tax purposes, so therefore you cannot get a tax clearance from SARS, and you first have to register them with SARS. That's a delay, and of course sellers, they can also cause a delay of the property if they don't sign documents, if they don't provide us with the necessary FICA documentation. So at the end of the day, if all the role players really cooperate, we can get it registered so much quicker.
And then everybody's happy.
Everyone's
obviously.
happy.
Okay, another question for you: in which purchase price properties do you specialize?
We register all over Port Elizabeth. It's always, of course, nice to register your more expensive properties when it comes to the fees that you're earning. But as I said previously in another interview, it's very satisfactory to register property into a first-time buyer, which is normally the lower end of the market. So I will not say that we specialize in a specific field, but I will say that we can handle any transaction, whether it's a 20 million rand commercial building that's being registered or a 20,000 rand low-cost house. We can do both, and we will basically specialize in all of them.
Now, I think for everybody here, if you're a first-time homeowner, your property is as important to you than a 5 million rand mansion, and they always, expect the same service.
As long as you satisfy the client's needs, indirectly you get that satisfaction from their appreciation.
Definitely. And then, are you registering mortgage bonds as well, or only properties?
We are very proud to say that we are on the panel of all the major banks in South Africa. That is now Absa Bank, First Rand Bank, Nedbank and Standard Bank. And also we are basically one of the top performers for the banks. We get performance reports on a month-to-month basis, and we always strive to be under the top 3 at least, and which is nice because we can go to any estate agent, to any client, and tell them that if the banks put us on their performance reports, that shows that we really give the performance to the clients. We strive to get registrations through as soon as possible.
That is reassuring. And then what is the difference between the registration of a property and the bond?
The process that we follow is normally linked to each other. When you take up a bond to buy a property, it's registered the same day. It's different documentations that's involved. With the transfer, you get clearances from the receiver, from the municipality. There's a title deed involved. When you do a bond registration, the bank actually instructs you as attorney to act for the bank and to get all the necessary security documents so that the bank can feel at ease to release the funds to the buyer. So that's normally like a debit order, the agreement between the parties, the FICA documentation, session of life cover. So once all the documents are signed, the bank then scrutinize it. If they accept it, they will say you can proceed to register, which will basically mean that you link those documents with the transfer documents in the deeds office, and on date of registration the bank releases the funds. If you take up a bond that is registered against a property that you're already the owner of, that is separate from the transfer, and that can take in a short period of 3 to 4 weeks. We basically need the instruction from the bank, prepare the documents, get the title deed and lodge in the deeds office. So that's why clients sometimes get confused. They can't understand why do they have to pay 2 attorneys or 1 attorney with 2 accounts. It's because when you buy property, you buy to get the property registered in your name, and you pay for that, and you also pay for the registration of the bond. So it's 2 different processes that's being followed.
And Tania, if everything goes very smoothly and we don't have any hiccups, what is the time that you can register a property in?
We recently registered a cash property in 5 weeks. But that is also, there's so many scenarios. I always say that it's like a lucky package. You never know what you get until you open it. If it's a cash deal, the seller's got the title deed, the buyer's ready with the funds. You prepare your documents, you get your clearances, you lodge, the deeds office take 2 weeks from there, and you register. But the cash deal can become a nightmare because the buyer's cash can be fixed in a pension fund, the seller's title deed can be mislaid, that's 5 weeks alone. There can be a backlog from the SARS, from municipality, strike at the deeds office. So it's always difficult, and you never make a promise when you register, but my records will show that we can register a cash deal in 5 weeks. On average, the transaction takes 8 weeks when a buyer takes up a bond, and the buyer's
Is that
cost
8 weeks from when the bond is granted?
It's from when the bond is granted. But sometimes the buyer take up to a month just to get the bond.
Yeah,
And without a bond, you cannot get clearances because you don't have the finances.
Yeah, and obviously the shorter the better for everybody concerned.
Yes, everyone gets the money quicker.
Wonderful.